So often we find school districts are looking for a quick fix, something that's going to get results now and fast. We don't fault them for that because you answer to your community and your school board, your parents, they expect their students to get results. And I think the tricky part is staying the course when you know that sustainable results are going to take time. Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast that delves into education, systems, and leadership. I am your host, Wendy York Davoud, and also the proud founder of Lead, Teach, Learn 360. Joining us today is Superintendent William Spalding and Assistant Superintendent Cheri Summers of Vallejo Unified School District. Good morning and welcome. Make sure to stick around to the end of the episode to learn how you could receive a coaching session backed by a research-based leadership competency assessment. And check out the link in the description below where you can get the 4 key steps you must take now to stop your educators from leaving. Superintendent Spalding, Cheri, tell us a little bit about yourselves and your work in Vallejo City Unified School District.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm William Spalding, the proud superintendent of Vallejo City Unified School District. I've been with the district now as a superintendent for around 3 years. I had previously been an administrator in the district about 25 years ago. Had the wonderful opportunity to be a young vice principal at the time, opening up a brand new high school, which just turned 25 years old this year. And then had the opportunity to, I left for a little while, or actually a long while, and then had the opportunity to come back a few years later when the superintendency opened up and kind of rekindle, relationships and trying to, kind of build this back, after some financial issues for the district a few years ago, and then through, the COVID pandemic. So we're coming out of some really challenging times and looking forward to some really exciting times.
Thank you. Ms. Summers?
Good morning. Well, I arrived in the district back in 1982 as a student teacher and found my home here. I've worked as a teacher. I've been a site administrator as well as a district administrator, and am currently working as an assistant superintendent for teaching and learning.
Now, Cheri's been with the district for quite a number of years. It's wonderful to partner with and work with both of you, coming at the work with different perspectives and different backgrounds and experiences. So tell us what drives you to continue to develop and refine for the students in Vallejo City Unified School District.
It's a personal thing for me. We're kind of an urban district, really. I mean, we're not a big city, but we are an urban district, and we have all kind of the benefits of being an urban center, and then some of the challenges of being an urban center. Demographically, we are considered one of the most diverse communities. At one point, I think we were called the most diverse community in the United States.
Wow, I did not know that.
And it's an interesting community because we have a really rich history. I'm sitting right now in an office that used to be on a naval base, and there was a submarine base here for a lot of years in a shipyard. I think the shipyard opened like in the 1850s, and so strong presence of the United States Navy here until about a little over 20, almost 30 years ago now. Then the peace dividend came and kind of closed up shop, and that really pretty dramatically changed the trajectory for our community, and kind of took a big employer and out of the city. And so since then, I think in a lot of ways we've been trying to kind of find our way, getting our sea legs. I'm sorry for the naval for the naval analogy, but
I like that.
I think our kids deserve the best, and I think we have to give them all that we can, and they don't always have the social capital that some of our neighboring communities have, but that doesn't mean they're not deserving. And so we work really hard at trying to provide them everything we can and give them the same opportunities, hopes, and dreams that anyone else would want anywhere else.
I would really echo a lot of what the superintendent said. When I'm in the presence of our students, they are amazing. They are articulate and they have hopes and dreams and a desire to create really positive things in their future. And yet, as Superintendent Spalding spoke about, they are going to face challenges that a lot of their peers who live in more privileged communities don't have to face. One of the things we sign up for when we come to this district is that we know that we also are going to face challenges in our work, and that's what we're committed to doing, because as the superintendent said, that's what our students deserve.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Remember to like and subscribe.
Tell our listeners what it was like when our partnership first began.
I think that I kind of came into it maybe a little bit after the partnership began and started to kind of just get to know, LTL360 and get to know you, Wendy. And Cheri probably has, kind of a better idea of what that was all like at the beginning. But what I encountered, when I got to know you and other members of your team and LTL360 was a really strong, thoughtful, competent partner that was able, and I think the thing that I really, really respect is able to take the complexity of all the things we have to do in a public school system and all the things we have to do in an urban public school system and break it down and make it as simple and as straightforward as it can be made for our teacher leaders, for our school leaders, for our district leaders, and really kind of bring that coherence. We talk about Fulton's coherence framework. There's a lot of conversation about the need for coherence in schools and school districts, and we've really been working at that since that coherence framework came out, which is 8 years ago now, I think. Easier said than done, because there's so many things that we have to work on, and you have to be firing on so many cylinders, to have success, with your kids in schools. And what I really appreciate is, how involved you've been, how straightforward you've been, how much you've helped to clarify for all of us, the way ahead. And that's no easy task.
Thank you.
And I was cautious because when we're choosing who we partner with, we're really looking for partners that are equity minded and partners that can build relationships with our principals and our teachers, and for partners that bring knowledge and skills to the table, but at the same time are willing to work alongside us and learn alongside us, because no one has all of the answers in order to get to the goals that we're trying to achieve. And so that's what we're really looking for, and that's what we found in the partnership that we've established.
I don't really know what to say. I'm not used to hearing our people talk about our work. It's just so moving. Sorry, sorry. I'm trying to keep it together here, but that is it just means so much to hear y'all say that. That the work we're doing is valuable to you. And, we don't talk about that. We just get in and do the work. And so I'm struggling a little bit as I hear people on our show speak to it, because it's just so touching.
Remember to hit the notification button so you don't miss an episode.
What has been one of the most important outcomes you've seen so far as a result of our work together?
I would say that there's a real system and structure that's in place. Everything from kind of the walkthrough protocols that we've been using, and the look for, listen for, kind of approach, the clarity and the simplicity of our instructional priorities, the work that we've done to extend that out to social emotional learning priorities. And I think there's there's a sense of purpose and vision that I think our leadership, our school leadership shares. And, of course, we have teacher leaders as well who are part of that whole process. And, I think again, I kind of come back to that clarity and simplicity and coherence, and real drive. I look at the difference. For example, we ended that school year. I think we were on Zoom at that time, still kind of pandemic-y. I looked out at a group of really exhausted, tired administrators, and I think that work, as it was really kind of quickening last year, left us, when I was looking at our administrators last June, we were having the kind of the post school year all day administrative meetings and trainings. As people were still tired. It was a long year, but people were energized and they were hopeful and they were optimistic and they were clear and pretty fired up. And I think that that's carrying over. So I'm bumping into people now as we're starting to come back from, July vacations, which were, none of them were long enough, but
I agree. And I agree.
but I think that's, I think that you can't say enough about that, because you have to keep people both seeing the way forward, connected and motivated. And I think that's what I see.
Cheri, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think the other piece of it is the collective commitment between our two organizations to partner in the long term. Because although, as we're looking at our preliminary data this year, we're seeing some pretty significant growth in some of the schools that we've really been supporting in an intensive way. And we also have some schools where we know that it's going to take longer. And so I think being able to have that commitment, because what we know about successful systems is not only is there consistency in leadership, but there's consistency in the strategies that you put in place in order to get the result. And so I think that's been a really important outcome as well.
So often we find school districts are looking for a quick fix, something that's going to get results now and fast. And we don't fault them for that, because you answer to your community and your school board, your parents, they expect their students to get results. And I think the tricky part is staying the course when you know that sustainable results are going to take time. And while you may see pockets of success relatively quickly, we are really working on, in partnership together, strategies that will help shift culture for the long haul. Across your system. So I agree with that. Reminder to check out the link in the description below to receive the 4 key steps you must take now to stop your educators from leaving. So what role does data play in your work with building that coherence and those coherent systems of continuous improvement?
That's been an issue that we've really had to really work on a lot. I don't know that we, over time, have had the kind of data always that we've needed or in the hands of the people that needed to have it. And so we've been making some investments in, both data systems and in somebody who would actually, who's actually going to collect and distribute and really refine the data, in ways that are more useful. So that's really coming along in ways. I can't say that over time, or at least in the time I've been here, that's been necessarily where I want it to be, but I do feel like it's moving in the right direction. Generally, data is key. You just like you want your pilot to fly a plane that he has all the dials and he or she has all the dials and weather reports and speedometer, altimeters, all those other kinds of things, so that plane lands safely. we need that too, or you want your doctor to be working off of data rather than a hunch. And I think that it's, in education, it is so critically important because we have these ideas that we have notions and ideas. A lot of times we make up narratives, what's going on, and we don't necessarily really know what's going on. And we know what's going on when we really pull up the data and the kinds of things that will tell us what's really happening. And sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes our hunches are wrong. Sometimes, our narratives in our head are wrong. We think something is a cause of something and it's not. And so, that's why it's so key for everybody. And that's why we're pursuing it pretty aggressively right now to make sure that we can do a far, far better job for our teachers, for administrators, in giving the kind of data that they can use and that they can make improvements on.
Cheri, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to add an example because when we began our work, the first project that we teamed together with LTL360 was on designing a tool that would allow us to gather data about the implementation and the impact on student success that our instructional priorities were having in our classrooms. And so we were able to design a tool that allowed us to gather data in a way that really helped us expand our understanding of how to use both qualitative and quantitative data to do exactly what you all were talking about, to really have a measurement and not a hunch about the implementation and the success of our instructional priorities, but to really have a way to track that in a way that was based in data.
Cheri, have you heard any feedback from the teachers, the staff, or others in the district about the work that we've done so far together?
The superintendent touched on it just a bit, but there was a leadership team meeting that we held recently where we were engaging teams in looking at the progress that we had made in using coherent systems to produce continuous improvement. And as teams were sharing their evidence, and as our teachers and principals that were in that meeting were sharing their evidence about the progress that had been made, you could just hear the confidence and the pride in their voices, in the work that you could tell they had ownership in the work. They had commitment to the work. And it was just, it felt like a real shift in seeing people coming from a place of maybe being tired or overwhelmed to feeling like they were making a difference and they had the tools and were empowered to push even further and make even more of a difference.
That's what it's all about, that collective efficacy and that belief that we can do this and we're going to do it together, but we can make an impact.
Cheri made mention of some pockets of growth that we've seen, with some of our schools and maybe some unexpected, growth. But as you said, Wendy, there's an expectation out there. There's an expectation, in our community. There's expectation outside of our community. People are watching us closely and, wanting to see really kind of a breakthrough for us. And so that has to be sustained. And so what I look forward to from our partnership is that we continue the work, but we reap even, more benefits over time, and that our kids it's really about the kids, that the kids reap more benefits over the time. And while we can always point to positive outliers, then, there are some outliers that aren't quite as positive. I'm going to feel better when it's system-wide, when we get system-wide results that's my brass ring. To get those system-wide results around the district, school to school, classroom to classroom, kid to kid, and that's what we're chasing. And we really appreciate that you're with us. You're in the front seat with us. I think that's what I look forward to more. And and I'm really committed this year. I've got a mindset about really starting this year strong and really pushing hard all year to start to really see those results across the board.
I started as a classroom teacher myself in Houston, Texas, or just outside of Houston ISD for Alief ISD, and then relocated to Southern California. Worked for the Paris Union High School District for a number of years, and I remember how eye-opening it was when I left the classroom and I became a literacy coach for the school district and began to visit multiple classrooms at multiple school sites, that the kids weren't getting the same quality of instruction, the same quality in terms of like time to collaborate, or the same quantity in time to collaborate, support in terms of how to use academic language, push and expectations were different. And so I know I'm preaching to the choir here, because the two of you have now, you in your roles, you experienced that and you've seen that, so And then I remember when I went into instructional coaching and began to work with multiple districts in multiple states, it was even more wow, the difference and the variance, and and then that has just, like, over time, it's become a passion for me, because it's not okay. Every kid deserves the very best opportunity, and the variance in the system isn't okay, and we have to figure out how to reduce it. And I don't have children of my own, but I often tell people, if I did, you bet I would be that parent at the school trying to pick my child's teacher, because I would want them to have the very best. And it shouldn't be that way. No parent should feel that they have to pay thousands of dollars to have their child go to a private school, or to go to the public school and campaign for their child. Every child deserves the best. So I think that your commitment to this work and the results that you're already starting to see in terms of systems development and processes and outcomes for kids in pockets, we'll get there. You will get there across the system, but it's admirable. And anyone that isn't displaying that level of commitment, they're in the wrong business, because the kids deserve it.
That's really what it's about, is that we are on a mission to get all of our students, with an emphasis on all, across that finish line to college and career readiness. And that's really what's driving everything that we do. And we've started to see this year some progress towards that, and we're just gonna keep pushing till we get there.
Thank you both for being here today. I appreciate you. We value you. Our team is invested in your success. We aren't successful unless you are, and you're getting there, and it's happening. So value you, stay the course. For our listeners, just a reminder that for a limited time, we are offering a free coaching session backed by a research-based leadership competency assessment. Check out the links below for the offers.